Okay, so more and more, something that's coming up is how most race swapping and a lot of what's been getting played around with characters that people like, that more and more at the creative critique end, you're finding people are like, oh, well, all this was self-inserts. That these are a bunch of people just kind of putting themselves into the stories. And so what it is that I was thinking about is how really what then is being seen. If I really think about, okay, when we were young and all those toys got made and there were cartoons just being pumped out for them, I could think of half a dozen different bunch of toys that I had. Exo Squad, these guys in this weird kind of exoskeletal armor. There was G.I. Joe, Star Wars, was it Sky Commanders, the mountain fighting guys. There was Robotech. And those were 3 different cartoon series. Transformers, Wheeled Warriors, remember those guys? Visionaries. Then there was that weird bunch of things that were like Beast Masters or something. There were these like hybrid animal mutant things. They would wear armor and elementals or something. You would basically, they had the little hologram sticker, and you saw if it was a fire one or a wood one or something, and they would have really, really cool paint designs. So a lot of these had tremendous potential for storytelling, hours of you imagining things, and coming up with adventures for them. Then there was the cartoons that gave you a touch of lore, and so a lot of this ends up dying because so much of it was based around fun and heroism, that that all is kind of more of a man thing and a boy thing, while girls, none of their toys were really fun. None of their toys were really all that fun. And our toys were fun, and that's why then there's no guys who were like that bronies and men who are into girl things are weirdos and usually kind of slightly mentally handicapped. But women who are into the boy things that were legitimately really cool and designed to be fun and cool, like those are like the coolest women in society now. Just saying. So all this race swapping, inserting, putting in girl bosses, stuff like that, and now the toys don't sell. Nobody really likes the stories. They could have actually had some kind of legacy character in a storyline, but instead they're going to put this other character in there, just so that they have a woman doing it. All of this really does come down to this isn't good storytelling, and fundamentally, that's what this really is about. Is a generation of people that aren't very original, creative. They haven't been taught the fundamentals of doing so. They usually haven't been given access to good literature on the subject. In the sense of like they don't know the classics of science fiction, they don't know that stuff. They've never sat and read like Bradbury's short stories and stuff like that, and compilations of sci-fi stories, and you guys didn't get that to a great extent and is really obviously showing with millennials to some degree. This is something that somebody could say is affect Gen X, but it's really showing that it's that this young talent would be millennials. These would be these 40-somethings, young 40-somethings, late 30-somethings that would be in all these fields. And that these are people that they associate, they're far more like trying to create Star Wars into something like Glee rather than keep it Star Wars. And yeah, that they would rather make it about putting on a musical or, you know, something fundamentally not fun like Girl Toys. And it's because if you could kill the fun, you control it. If that's the idea. That's why if for, you know, there's dudes who bring a guitar to the party. If they could ruin it, they control the party. It's their party once they ruin it with their guitar. So this thing, what it is really, it's a generation of people that they don't have the fundamentals of creativity. And one of the key things is they don't know what's a violation of creativity. Like, they don't really understand, like, no, when you do this is bad taste. This is bad storytelling. This is bad art. There's a generation that has no understanding that there is bad art. There's violations of the way art is to be done for you to get respect as an artist. And it's because of a generation of people that, I mean, a lot of what the art of their time was phony. It wasn't real. It was like there were various houses of finance, and then, I mean, even the CIA and Pollock and all of that. So there was stuff out there that it was like, no, nobody liked it. It wasn't good. But it somehow, somebody was able to write off, you know, there's a major write-off to, you know, to own it, you know, or something like that, or to donate it. One of the things for, I know a lot of you fellow Gen Xers, you've noticed this, is when you totally fail in life, write a book. You know, it's like if you totally ruin your family, write a book. You know, it's if you've sunk your country, write a book. So there's that end of fail art and bad art. So there's this generation that it's like, no, you guys destroyed comics. Your characters, it's a skin suit. You couldn't tell a story. You inserted yourself into the story. You made the story fundamentally your own headcanon, and you're wearing the characters like a skin suit. And that there's very likely just a fundamental, at a fundamental level, not liking the characters of the story comes through, which means it's the hatred of the audience, and that you're being punished because the art should be for the party, and you're being punished for not liking party, you know, socialist party art, commie party art, fascist party art. The rejection of all of this is, again, because of the effeminate mind. It is the rejection of the person quite personally, rejecting their movement, mocking them, is mocking them at their core. It's mocking, you know, who they are at an absolutely personal level, and that's the way they take it. They can't take it as I just keep writing bad stories, and people keep approving my really bad stories, this terrible dialogue, and there's no point at which this becomes like there's reflection. I should reflect on, like, why do I keep writing stuff like this? And because also, to a great extent, they can't write anything better. They really have not been given the criticism that they require, and they won't accept it. Because what it is, it's not criticism of their work, it's criticism of them quite personally. Because these aren't characters, this isn't a story, it's their own headcanon, it's them as this character, and you're saying you as this character fucking suck. And they do. That's one of the things about why it would be difficult to write a superhero, to write somebody who's beyond normal human abilities and stuff like that, and and the struggles they would go through, as also then a being that is mortal and is constantly putting themselves into mortal danger, for the sake of others. And so I just, yeah, and the fact that it's always like this kind of fantasy rave at all of every movie now, every comic book, and there's a fantasy rave going on in the streets, and you're just like, real. So not like normal life. So it sort of makes it that it makes it really a cyberpunk, kind of a cyberpunk story in a way, that you're in this place that's kind of like this dystopia, that's one of the last places that people can live. So they live sort of like it's the last day of their life all the time, and it's also totally criminally chaotic. And then you add cybernetics and weapons and things like that. So it was just something I was thinking about, like that's not the setting. And in fact, and so there's actually a good example of that, where the cyberpunk setting like that dystopia, that means that like the heroes have failed. You have a cyberpunk dystopia because there are no superheroes, and then cyberpunk comes along and everything's ruined, and now you have just superhumans in the ruins of society. Comic books don't work like that. Comic books, it's supposed to be normal people, normal life. There's always normal people, and then super abnormal person comes along to ruin everything, and then somebody finds out, they kind of reveal, like, actually, I'm not normal. In fact, I think I could stop super abnormal man, and with my good abnormal plan, and has to overcome trying to develop themselves and become the kind of person who could go up against abnormal man. But you have to have normies. If you have a world full of people who are just raving all the time, they don't care about it. The abnormal man could have that world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's, yeah. And so stuff like that, that's like a fundamental misunderstanding of the kind of way you're telling the story and all this stuff. And so it really just shows, like, no, you guys, you're not really talented artists. Like, something's kind of wrong, you're doing it wrong. But you're crazy. You're telling them their bone marrow's incorrect. Telling them that their knees are on backwards, their legs are on upside down. You're saying some horrible things to them. So it won't really matter. They don't want to make good stories, and to a great extent they kind of can't make good stories. That's not, they haven't been taught how. They refuse examples of good stories. And then there's also the thing of that people who, like, not only do they know good stories when they write good stories, but it's also that they really understand. Like, Shakespeare actually comes from all of these stories from Italy. And until, stuff like that, you don't. And a really bad thing that's happened is us just ruining the liberal arts education by fundamentally not really informing people of that, of like why this story was important, where did this story come from. So a lot of people are cheated, but it's not even their fault. They just have very, very, very bad instruction in art because so many people just had to fake it. I mean, so many boomers were just fakes. A lot of boomer art people, fake losers, and that's why they teach. All right, later.